Hello everybody, this is Joey, and welcome back to another tier list ranking video. This time, I'm looking at the Indiana Jones theatrical films. All four of them. I don't know if there actually is going to be a fifth. I know it's been rumored for years and years, and I have no idea if it actually will turn into something. And I know that there was a TV show at one point. I never personally watched it, or any other spin-offs or anything like that related to Indiana Jones. I just know the four films. At first, I thought, well, other than being four things, this is going to be a relatively easy list because I know what's at the top, what's at the bottom, and two of them kind of match them. But when I thought more about it, I was like, well, there's a little bit that tells them apart from each other, so it can be a little bit more split out than I initially thought. So, with that being said, I'm going to start off with my F rank being Temple of Doom. It's really forgettable for me. I can't remember half the plot or half of the dialogue in this film. I remember some scenes or some locations, but not much as far as, something for me to get invested in, something for me to actually care about. I was going to say that there are a lot of grotesque things in the film. It is definitely a harder watch for me personally, just visually. From what I do remember, it was a harder watch for me than the other Indiana Jones films. I mean, they have a whole dinner scene with a lot of unusual things to be eaten. There's the Kalima scene later in the film. I don't want to completely write them off though, because I think some of it is a cultural thing, and I don't want to have an issue with that. So maybe it's something that if I know the culture better, or if I understand that it is part of the culture in the film, then maybe that'll work a little bit better. I mean, a lot of these films have a lot of cultural elements in them, whether they're fake or whether they're based on real life or not. So even in the movies, reality about these, maybe it is a delicacy. I don't know. It's still unappealing as a viewer, but I probably could look at it just to see if it is actually relevant or anything. Because like I said, I can't remember half the dialogue, so I don't even know if there was something that they even talked about. Also, Willie, I'm sure that the person who voices or who acts as Willie is an okay actress, but Willie as a character does nothing for me. She is useless. She's just there for the ride. Her only real character trait is that she screams. And honestly, when Lego Indiana Jones came out, the video game, that was one of my favorite things, is that her special ability is that she screams. It's annoying, but it's hilarious because it's like there's no other character to her that I can remember. And yeah, so I'm going to put this one down because it is a forgettable film for me. It doesn't have a lot of impact. There are stuff in it that I'm not a fan of for what I do remember, and easily skippable in my opinion. Moving further up the ladder, I don't really, there's only 4 entries, so it's kind of hard to put one in every one of these. So I don't know, it's really not going to change anything if I skip a category. So I'm going to put down in the D list Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. That one I actually do remember stuff from the movie, even though it's all taking place in your typical Amazonian jungle, or South American regional. I don't remember exactly what part of South America it was, if it was the Amazon, if it was Brazil, if it was somewhere else. I'm lost on that part of it, but still, you get a jungle. You get a very typical adventurer scene throughout the film. But there are still memorable parts about it, where the character interactions are interesting. The mystery of the Crystal Skull itself. The plot twist at the end, I don't know. Seemed a little out of place. There might be some merit to it, but I don't know. It just felt like a curveball. There were a couple chase scenes that were actually interesting. There were a couple of fight scenes that were interesting. Irina Spalko, I wouldn't say is a strong villain, but definitely a menacing one at least. And there were also a couple good callbacks throughout the film of the previous films. Like they had the whole Area 51 scene, I think, in the beginning of the film, where you get to see some of the previous treasures that Indiana Jones locked away. So it was nice to have that continuing with it, where it's like, oh, you see these in some of the other films, and you see them lock it away in a facility. Now they get to the facility. It's kind of cool that way to have that a little bit worked into the plot. Um, Shia LaBeouf might have been the first time or one of the earliest times that I've seen him as an actor, and he was all right as Mutt. I don't think it was astounding, but it was still like getting the job done kind of thing. There was still mystery and intrigue throughout the film, from what I remember. So, yeah, I actually didn't mind this one as much compared to the other films. You know, even if it was a long time later in terms of filming, it still did an okay job. It just wasn't like a smash hit for me. Also, the Nuketown thing is kind of funny. The whole hiding in the refrigerator and escaping an atomic bomb blast and things like that. I don't know. That was more funny than tense. So there's that. I'm going to skip over from C, and I'm going to bring things up to A. So the next one we have is The Last Crusade. This was a really neat film. Very good comeback film for being the third. I can't think of a lot of movie series where the third film is better than some of the other ones. Usually it kind of goes in the decline, but this one was like on the upswing. So, yeah, this was actually very impressive for the film. I like the chemistry between Henry Jones Sr. and Jr. There were a lot of fun scenes and a lot of fun fight scenes throughout the film, a lot of action in it, and the things I would kind of expect out of this kind of film, you know, an explorer action, you know, chase film, basically. I think it worked very well. I think I've chosen wisely, if I may. And right above that, in A, because I don't know if there's really an S rank. I don't think it's, like, perfect. I don't think it's flawless. But it's still a very, very good film. Raiders of the Lost Ark is definitely number one. It's really, like, it's like a 9 out of 10. If I have to say for anything among these films, it's very close and very well done. Still has, like I said, a lot of mystery, a lot of intrigue, like some of the other films. A good amount of action, occasionally some gore, like the airplane scene, and enough to get you invested into the character. But also some humor to balance things out. Both The Last Crusade and Raiders had these short, simple, funny scenes that broke up from the action and suspense, but still were fun in character. Like Henry Jones Sr. chasing the birds with an umbrella so that he can distract the planes that were flying by and crash them into the side of the shoreline. That was funny. But it also added on to the plot, you know? It's like, how do we get away from these planes? With Raiders, Indiana Jones is chasing through Egypt in this marketplace, trying to, you know, chasing a couple goons, and he comes across a swordsman, and we all know the bringing a gun to a sword fight scene, which is still important because it's like, well, he still has to get through, and this was just a nice break from it to make it funny. So, yeah, I'll give this movie some credit. It's definitely, you know, iconic. It's definitely, like, everybody, I think, knows the first Indiana Jones movie and gets it, and it works. I think, honestly, it's fine as a standalone, you know? It wraps up the story pretty well. I don't think it's really with any loose ends. If there were some issues with it, it might just be a little bit of the acting on occasion. Maybe one or two scenes that just felt a little flatter compared to other scenes in the movie. Like the slow build-up in the beginning. There was like one or two scenes with that where it's like they're in the mountains and getting to the villain of the film, that are a little less memorable for me or a little less impactful, but still reasonably good. So there we have all 4 of the Indiana Jones films. Again, not counting the other stuff, but if you want to throw your tier list down in the comments below, let me know what you think. And leave a like if you want to see more of these on this channel. We'll see you next time with more videos.